Phone ringing for the work. They waiting on me like the 15 the first. I'm killing competition, put them bitches in the hearse. Been diagnosed with a sick flow, with a nurse. Yeah, do it for the city, but the hood getting turned. With the money going around like
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Bubble Sports Podcast. This is episode 111 of the podcast. And I got something I want to take off my chest. There was an argument going out there. It's going around a long time. And I just don't get it, people. I just don't get it. But before we get into that, thank you for either watching or listening to the podcast. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or you're on the fucking YouTube channel. What is going on, guys? This is Bubble Lutz here, bringing you another episode of the Bubble Lutz Sports Podcast, episode 111, like I mentioned. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. All right, let's just run it down. The progress that we've made over the last just few weeks. Now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, we are over 360 listens overall in just 6 months of having the podcast. So if you're not following the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go do that. Go on anchor.fm/Bubbleletts to, I almost said Ask FM. What the fuck is this, like middle school? Anchor.fm/Bubbleletts to subscribe and donate basically to the podcast for either $1, $5, or $10. If you're listening to this, not watching the video, I'm wearing a Mexico jersey. My boy Chucky Lozano. Love my man. And then if you are on YouTube, if you're not subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications when we do episodes like this or we do live streams, which are coming very, very soon. Now, numbers on YouTube right now, 38 subscribers. Let's get to 50. That is the next goal to get us to our progress, our journey through YouTube. And there are over 200 views already on YouTube. And that's ridiculous for just having it for over a week and a half on YouTube. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for watching. And let's get right into it, shall we? So this is episode 111 of the Bubble Sports Podcast. And like I said, I got something I want to get off my chest. And that is the argument that Tom Brady is going to leave New England and go to another team and finish off his career there. That is total bullshit. Now, I'm going to bring some facts into it, some speculation, but this is purely my bias, my opinion on the topic. Now, I wish I had Eddie here to talk about it because, if you didn't know already, he is a New England Patriots fan. Crazy, I know, right? But I've come to love Tom Brady. I've come to love the New England Patriots and what they've done for the sport. They have created a dynasty that every other team in the league, we talk about it, it's a copycat league. We talk about it, and yet no one has been able to perfect or even imitate the type of dynasty and the type of organization that the New England Patriots bring to the table in the NFL. And no other quarterback is as decorated, as successful, and at this age, at 42, still going at such a high level. And the numbers don't match. The numbers, to me, don't match what Tom Brady did this past season. At 42 years old, avocado ice cream and all, TB12 method, that man had no one to throw to. He had no weapons. He had a just offensive scheme that just didn't work, yet it got him to the playoffs. They lost in the first round to the Tennessee Titans, but in a scrappy match, in a scrappy game, and that was one or two plays away, one or two drives away from going the Patriots' way, and probably furthering them into another Super Bowl. The Chiefs ended up winning, blah, blah, blah. Here we are now, and Tom Brady's a free agent. Now, the eye test for me is what really puts it together for Tom Brady, even at 42 years old, is that man is still playing at an elite level, is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and for years upon years, there's been the argument of he is dipping down, his stats are going down, he just doesn't look like the same quarterback. Yet you say that man was just winning the Super Bowl last year, right at this time. He was losing a Super Bowl 2 years ago at this time, but performed at such a high level. Don't forget that in the Eagles game that was 2 or 3 years ago, that man threw for over 500 yards and probably had the best performance in a Super Bowl that he ever had in a loss. In a loss, people. And that's crazy to think that he was playing at that level right around 40 years old. And yet here we are. He is still a hot commodity. He is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The argument that I'm trying to make here is that there is no way that Tom Brady wants to leave New England and go somewhere else and basically start a new organization or a new chapter in his entire historic book in the NFL. There are some, nice little sexy picks that you can do. And I was going through them in my head. We've talked about Chicago. But I'm like, the Raiders have interest of going for Tom Brady in free agency. I really don't like that for so many reasons. I'll get into them. One of them that did actually, catch my interest was the Carolina Panthers. Just because of what they're doing. They're trying to go young. They got Joe Brady. The Brady and Brady connection. I just made that in my head. Boy, wouldn't that be nice to see, right? And then some people are even saying, like Colin Cowherd said, he would look great in a Cowboys uniform. Let's just go back to the beginning of the episode where I got really close to the mic. And I say as a Cowboys fan, that man right behind me, that man right behind me, his head's cut off, but Dak Prescott should not be disrespected in that way. Of course, Tom Brady would look good in a Cowboys uniform. I think any team would appreciate Tom Brady in their uniform. But how dare you? How dare you disrespect Dak Prescott like that? That is dad. That is father. That is Boppy. Okay? That man's getting a contract. We'll save that for another episode, by the way. Because the people that keep talking about how he doesn't deserve the contract and rumors going around, I don't know if this is official or not, but that they offered Dak Prescott $33 million is disrespectful as well. So let's just save that for another day, Let's just save that for later on in the week. Back to Tom Brady, though. Look, man, let's run through the teams, by and large, why they don't deserve Tom Brady and why Tom Brady doesn't need to go there. Let's talk about Chicago Bears first. Okay, they have a lot more problems than getting a quarterback. Now, quarterback is one of the biggest issues. Mitchell Trubisky is just not working out for them. He's already in his third year, not developing in the same way that they expected him to be. Definitely not the pocket passer they wanted him to be. And as an overall leader, you don't see that in Trubisky like they expected him to be. They passed on Deshaun Watson. They passed on Patrick Mahomes. And they're killing themselves at getting a quarterback that was supposed to be at that same level. They got the worst, the short end of the stick in that argument. So they're going to try to be desperate. They're going to try to find a way out from Mitchell Trubisky before his rookie contract ends. And of course, why wouldn't you want to go for Tom Brady? That is established. That is elite. That is a Super Bowl winning quarterback and is a great leader. He's one of the greatest leaders of a team ever to take the field under center. So it's so enticing. It's so just flavorful for the Chicago Bears to go after Tom Brady. Here's why Tom Brady should not go for the Chicago Bears. Look, I think Matt Nagy is a good coach, not a great coach. I think what they did this past season, it was an underwhelming season from the previous season. Their biggest problem 2 years ago was a kicker. The kicker doinked it, and they didn't make the NFC Championship game. That's it. He makes a field goal, they're going to the NFC Championship, and they would have had a really strong chance of winning it that year against the Rams. And yet, now, their problems, their issues have nothing to do with the kicker. I think they actually figured out with Eddie Pinheiro last year that their kicking is actually pretty good. It's consistent. It's kind of just normal around the league. And yet, their defensive side of the ball, which they're known for, that was supposed to carry them throughout the season, you felt like it wasn't all there. Now, there were some games where they looked tremendous, but the inconsistency of that team, offense and defense, just didn't put together. They did not use their running game effectively at all last season. And I really felt that was their strongest key point of their offense. They have tremendous backs, Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, that they just didn't use effectively last year. And they relied so heavily on Mitchell Trubisky to finally flourish, to finally put it together, which he never did. But you put so much trust into a guy like that that's only in his second year, you're never going to develop in the right way. You have receivers. You have weapons around you. And yes, adding a guy like Tom Brady would be so much more of an improvement. But why would Tom Brady take that chance? It's more of just Tom Brady's side than the Bears side. You know, Bears have a lot to offer, but why would Tom Brady go into there and probably take another year or two before developing a strong core on that team to where you finally become a contender? That NFC is not going to get easier. The NFC is only going to get harder. And especially with the teams that are either coming back from this past season, going into it next season, they're only going to improve. You're going into an NFC North that is super competitive. You have the returning Minnesota Vikings. You have the returning Green Bay Packers that have a vengeance to go against the 49ers. And then you have the Detroit Lions, who I think really is a sleeper team next year because I love what Matt Patricia is doing. I've said it time and time again, that record that the Detroit Lions had with the tie and then only winning 3 or 4 games, I think it was only 3, that doesn't determine how much of grit and fight that team has that will only get better in his 3rd season as the head coach. So you're going against a tough division. And to only get out of that division, to go against the Seattle Seahawks team, to go against a Green Bay Packers again, to go against Minnesota Vikings, 49ers, Cowboys, Eagles, whoever comes out, Falcons, Saints, the list goes on and on. It is a little bit easier in the AFC. And you're saying, well, what about the Chiefs? What about the Ravens? Look, man, if Tom Brady stays in New England, the Patriots are the favorites. No doubt about it in my mind. Now, I talked about it in the last podcast where we said that the Chiefs, yes, will build a dynasty in the long term. But I think next season they take that Super Bowl slump. They don't get as far as they did this year. And I think the Patriots take back their title and kind of ride off into the sunset of their dynasty. So that's where I feel that's going, and it's with Tom Brady under center. So the Chicago Bears, I think Tom Brady's not willing to take that risk. Maybe they go for Cam. I think that's the route they want to go. And I think it's the best thing for Cam to go into an established team, see what he can do, but you know we don't like Cam Newton on this podcast. Carolina Panthers. I just love it because of the Joe Brady effect, because of the Matt Rule effect now that he's coming from Baylor. The only bad part about it is a lot of your guys are either retired, going away. They're re-establishing every position, and they're really rebuilding, for lack of a better term, in Carolina. I think it's going to take so many years for them to develop. They're going to be great. I think they're really going to be good with Joe Brady at offense. I hope they move away from Cam Newton and go with a guy like Will Grier. Maybe take another chance on Kyle Allen under a new offense. I think they both will flourish a lot better with Joe Brady as their offensive coordinator and Matt Rule as a young, fresh coach. It's that defense that has a lot of worries. You know, Luke Kuechly retired. What a great career he had, but the injuries and the concussions just really took an effect on him. So it's sad to see a guy like that, before he even turned 30, at such an elite level at his position, retire. But that's business. That is football. And so that's where the Carolina Panthers fall, is that now they got to really rebuild and kind of waste those prime years of Christian McCaffrey. Now, adding a guy like Tom Brady would be beneficial because that kind of saves you a year or two in the rebuilding stage. Yet you got to protect them like the New England Patriots are trying to do so often. Their receivers are okay, not great. Their defense has a lot to work to do, especially in this draft and free agency. Now that you got to replace Luke Kuechly, you got to improve the front seven a lot more. Their pressure, they're not known for their defense. They were in a lot of high-scoring games and close games. You got to talk about how close of games that the Carolina Panthers were in last season. I mean, that last month roughly was like one possession games. It was Christian McCaffrey not getting in the end zone. It was bad play calling. Then Ron Rivera's out. But you can't diminish the fact that Ron Rivera kept them in those games. That fight and that integrity was always there for Ron Rivera. So that's going to be a change to see how Matt Rule does it, Joe Brady does it, and a whole new era of Carolina. I don't think Tom Brady would be willing to take another few years because he wants to play to 45, so he still has like 3 years. But if you want to waste 1 or 2 of those years rebuilding, wouldn't it be easier just to get the same money in New England or a little bit of a pay cut and get the solid number one job and you feel confident about it? I think that's a lot better for Tom Brady to go through. The Raiders are going to go after Tom Brady, and they're probably doing it right now. Like, as we speak, they're probably going with trade offers, with contract negotiations. That is so disrespectful to Derek Carr, and I've tweeted about it because of the fact that man is a franchise quarterback. And what the Raiders have that the other teams don't have is a lot of fucking issues. They have more issues than you can name off of one hand. Okay, first of all, great for them to get Josh Jacobs, rookie, in my personal opinion, rookie of the year last year. I don't think it should have been Kyler Murray. For them to get a back like that, really tough, gritty, strong, powerful, great job for them to kind of finally move on from like a Marshawn Lynch or even like a Darren McFadden days. Like, they finally have an established back, and their offensive line is getting better. They didn't do as well later in the season, but hey, you play in a tough division that the Chiefs, the Super Bowl winning team, was in. You're really not going to win a lot of games there. But like, their offensive line is getting better. I hope that as time goes on, their offensive line gets better. They need weapons on the outside. You know, the Antonio Brown project just didn't work out, and yet they really could never really establish their wide receiver core. Williams was probably their best receiver last year, but he had a few good moments, not a consistent season. And overall, their defense at times looked good against like a Colts team, a Texans team, yet their secondary needs to improve so much more. They need that Khalil Mack type of player again, and I know it's hard to replace, yet they don't have an established pass rusher. They have good young guys, but as a whole, who stands out on that team? I love John Gruden. I think he is the best coach for that team. And for them to move to Las Vegas finally, you can start a new atmosphere, a new team atmosphere that can only get better, yet that core is still there of the players itself. So it's a matter of, in free agency and the draft, to really pick at guys that will get it done. And that's going to take a lot of time, man. I think with John Gruden in his third year of 10 years under contract with the Oakland Raiders, there's a lot of work to be done in Oakland. And the fact that your direction completely goes to a quarterback, like, that is ridiculous, man. Like, you have your quarterback, if he can stay healthy, who is younger than Tom Brady, who is not as talented, but is competent enough to play at the position, in Derek Carr, who's younger, who is faster, who is a growing quarterback that can be an established quarterback around the league. I think you have the second best quarterback in that division, the AFC West. You have Patrick Mahomes. Phillip Rivers is probably going to leave. And even then, if Phillip Rivers stayed, I still think Derek Carr is a better quarterback right now. I don't like Phillip Rivers. I never liked Phillip Rivers. I don't think he's the quarterback that the Chargers needed for all of these years, where they've wasted a lot of guys. LaDainian Tomlinson, and then you got Melvin Gordon, you got Austin Eckler. All these different weapons on the outside, and yet it feels like Phillip Rivers is holding them back. Derek Carr is not holding the Raiders back. He is the reason why they're even a conversation starter of why they should be good. Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr are a great tandem duo. Give them weapons. Who is your weapon on the outside? Who? No one. Who is your pass rusher on defense? No one. Who's a great defensive-minded coach? Who is a great offensive-minded coach when it's not John Gruden? John Gruden's a great coach, but he needs help around him. If the Davis family doesn't want to help, if the Davis family wants to move away from Derek Carr should ask for a trade right now, saying, send me to New England, take all you want. I'm gonna win games over there. If you want Tom Brady that bad, send me out of my way. Because that's disrespectful to Derek Carr. And if that's your main goal, if that is your one direction of saying, we just got to replace that quarterback, we got to find a quarterback, and I know we can do great things with it, your whole mindset is skewed in the wrong direction. You need 53-man roster. You don't need a quarterback. You never needed a quarterback ever since you drafted Derek Carr. How bad of an organization do you have to be to not realize that the one good thing going for you is your quarterback and your running back duo? And yet you're thinking, we just got to switch out the quarterback and we'll be fine. We won some games last year. but if only we had a better quarterback. That is a horrible argument to make if you're John Gruden and the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know how many times I said Oakland, but Las Vegas Raiders, all right? Stadium looks awesome. Stadium will be super cool to look at. But if you have a shitty team in there, it doesn't matter if Tom Brady's your quarterback. If you can't stop the opposing team in scoring, if you can't stop Patrick Mahomes from scoring, which a lot of people can't do, there is no way you win games with Tom Brady. Don't care who you are. Don't care what team you come from. I don't care what quarterback you have. As long as your defense doesn't do crap, you're never going to win that division. And you're never going to get a wild card out of that division. Just saying. And the Cowboys, you know my take. Quarterback is not the issue. And by all means, I've been saying it for the past couple weeks now, ever since they hired Mike McCarthy. There's no excuses. There's no excuses. They have their quarterback. They got to pay him, though. They have their running back. They have their weapons if they plan on signing Amari Cooper or they go with someone in the draft, which they should. They have the offensive line. They have talented guys on defense now with Mike Nolan under the helm. Awesome pick. Awesome coaching staff. Jerry Jones is finally realizing that they have to have the control, not me. No excuses for the Cowboys the next year or so. Next 2 years, really, the Cowboys have no excuses. If they can't succeed now, they never will. All right? Other teams you can say, just nothing really stands out to me as far as a team that needs a quarterback. The Chargers one is stupid. Awful. I mean, you go from Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady would be an improvement. I just don't see Tom Brady leaving to go to LA. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. This is the reason why I think he stays in New England. And all in all, this is the main argument I'm making. You can talk about all these different teams. You can talk about how enticing it would be. The man's won 6 Super Bowls with New England. He still has Josh McDaniels, his favorite coordinator. He still has Bill Belichick, his coach that has made him great. It has come out and has been reported by so many different sources, like Adam Schefter, that yes, Tom Brady wants the money. He wants to ask for like $30 million a year. He has also said that he would be willing to take a pay cut like he's done all his career. As long as you provide weapons around me, bring back Amendola. Bring me a tight end. Thaddeus Moss, you look good in the draft. I will take you. By whatever it takes, get Thaddeus Moss in the draft if you're New England. Go for a free agent wide receiver or just go desperate mode in the draft to give this man weapons. Because you're saying, look, we just need like a year for them to develop. Like N'Keal Harry will get better because he is in the second year. You got Mohamed Sanu. We'll see what happens under his contract. It was a failure this past season. He should be a lot better. Ben Watson was a good pickup at tight end. It didn't work out. He was non-existent in the playoffs. And you have Julian Edelman, who played through, I don't know, maybe 20 injuries throughout the season. Maybe get him healthy and not give the entire load to him. That would help as well. But look, what has been an understatement of the Patriots for so long? Running backs, man. They make any guy look good at running back. They make anybody look good at that position. They have Sony Michel, who I think is one of the best backs in the NFL because he's just so underutilized, and he doesn't need to be a Todd Gurley. He doesn't need to be a Zeke. But look at the entire playoff picture this past season. Other than Derrick Henry, can you name an outstanding back that deserves a shit ton of money? No. You had Damian Williams as your supposed MVP for the Super Bowl. You had Sony Michel. You had Mark Ingram. You can name off a lot of names like Aaron Jones. You can name off Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman. Not guys that pop off the screen and give you the flashiness of a running back. It's good running backs under a good scheme. That's exactly what Sony Michel is. That's exactly what Rex Burkhead is. It's exactly what James White is under the New England Patriots scheme. It works. It always works. As long as you can establish that play action and get 1 or 2 more receivers for Tom Brady, why would he leave? If they put in the effort of saying, look, we will give you weapons. Just be patient. Tom Brady's been there 20 years. Why would he be impatient right now? They have the means to pay him. Why wouldn't you pay him? And then you have the ability to get more weapons because you're going to put them in the right system. You're going to get the right guys like you've done for your past 20 years of the dynasty. It doesn't need to be Antonio Brown. It could be Odell Beckham because he wants to play for the Patriots, so he'll probably take a pay cut for that. And then you get some guys in the draft that look phenomenal this year. Some great wide receivers in that draft this year, which the Cowboys should look into as well. And most of all, this is for me, and I know this is personal, so this by no means determines what Tom Brady's going to be thinking about. Wouldn't you want to be the Kobe of the New England Patriots? Wouldn't you want to be the Dirk Nowitzki of the Patriots? Like that, the one player that stays with that team forever. You don't go to another team like Joe Montana did, like Brett Favre did, where they, even a Michael Jordan, to where like they were known for being with, if you're Joe Montana, San Francisco 49ers. If you're Michael Jordan, then you are known for being the Bulls, not the Wizards. Even Peyton Manning. He is known as being the guy who built the Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Yet he probably played some of his best years in Denver and won another Super Bowl in Denver. Yet I think that Tom Brady's always made the case that he's better than Tom Brady, or better than Peyton Manning. He is better than a lot of these other quarterbacks. He's better than Joe Montana on paper, on Super Bowls, on just everything as a dynasty and a legacy. And what makes those great players that stayed with one team for their entire career, like a Kobe, like a Dirk Nowitzki, is that's a part of their legacy, is that they hold the records for most games played under that organization, for the most wins under that organization, and being known as the Lakers player, being known as the Mavericks player. There's a little asterisk next to Michael Jordan's name of just being like the Bulls player, but also, he had the Wizards years, which are just, he played at a high level, but he's not going to be remembered for that. Why not be remembered for being the Patriots guy, for being the Patriot, the number one Patriot in the Hall of Fame? Why wouldn't you want to be remembered as that? Just to get more money somewhere else, but then never really doing much over there? Would you want to be a Joe Montana where you play good in Kansas City, but never win a championship? And you just put up more stats, but you just did it for the money. You did it because the negotiations didn't go your way. When you could just suck up a little bit of your pride. Like Tom Brady's never had to worry about money. He makes more off endorsements than he does on playing on the field. His wife makes more than he does. Why is money an issue now? Is it because, like, hey, I've played in this league so long and I've won so many championships that I know if I go somewhere else, they're going to pay me the big bucks? Yeah, that's the argument you can make. All in all, though, if you grew up, you've grown your family, you've grown your entire legacy in New England and living by that area, being a folk hero in New England, why would it change for just a couple more years of playing in Denver, playing in LA, playing in Chicago? Is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to waste the last few years being somewhat competitive but not at the Super Bowl level because of so many issues going around you? Like, they add you, which is great, but they have so many more issues to work out before they get to a Super Bowl level, when you already know that the New England Patriots are your home. They're going to give you the best possible situation. I know last year was the epitome of not that conversation. Yet it's 1 year out of 20 where you feel like the Patriots just didn't do their job as far as providing weapons, providing what is necessary in order to win another Super Bowl. Maybe it's just a wake-up call. It's the cold water on your face when you wake up. Maybe this is where Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft say, okay, I mean, that didn't work because like we fell into our box, and we have to step out of the box, our comfort box, to really go after one guy in free agency, to go after a guy in the draft high end, like a receiver, tight end. Maybe this is just our last hurrah to where we give it our last few shots under Tom Brady to really seal the legacy of the greatest team ever. And I think that's where it's going. I really think that all in all, it's more of just like a one bad year out of 20 or a few bad years out of 20, yet you're still 6 Super Bowls in, and you've gone to more, and you could have won more. It was just one game that determined that. But if you can't get back to that game, then that's your issue. That's the issue for the New England Patriots. Tom Brady is going to get you there as long as you give him enough. You look at teams around the league. You can have a great quarterback, yet you're not going to go anywhere if that's all you have is a great quarterback. This is a league to where now it's not based on just that position. You got to have a solid running game. You got to have an offensive line. You got to have weapons on the outside. You got to have a great pass rush, great coaching staff that can stay composed under pressure. It's not just one guy anymore that just takes over the league. You can't just plug in guys like you are in New England, like last year, and just say, well, no, we'll get there because we're in New England and we're the Patriots. Instead of just settling, just make that one last push. And I guarantee you that Tom Brady sees that push. He's going to acknowledge the respect that Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft are trying to give to him. And people are going to want to go to play with Tom Brady. They're going to go to play with New England. And even the guys that aren't the best, time and time again, we see these guys flourish because they put them in the right position. They don't base it off their weaknesses, and they don't play off their weaknesses. They play off their strengths. And if N'Keal Harry can play off those strengths, if Mohamed Sanu can come back and play at a high level again like he did in Atlanta, Julian Edelman can get healthy, whether or not they keep Ben Watson or they go with someone in the draft, which I think they should, play off that running game, and a 43-year-old Tom Brady will win you another Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying, man. This argument that he's leaving and all these different Patriots players, like ex-Patriots players saying, why would he want to leave, or I don't expect him to leave. Look, man, the one that really comes to mind is Danny Amendola. Like, just people asking him, like reporters asking him, where do you see him going? And he's like, I don't see him in anything else but a Patriots jersey. I think Tom Brady has the same feeling. Like, do I really see myself in a Chicago Bears jersey or a LA Chargers jersey? No, I'm a Patriot. I'm always going to be a Patriot. And that Super Bowl commercial where he kind of just like joked about it. There's where he said, I'm not going anywhere. That could just be because he's not retiring. His last moment as a Patriot right now is a pick 6 against the Titans. That is, I know Tom Brady. I've seen Tom Brady my entire life. I've watched Tom Brady my entire life. That is nowhere where he wants to be remembered at. If his last hurrah, like Peyton Manning did, where he wins the Super Bowl, he's holding up a trophy no matter how he did it, no matter if he didn't throw a touchdown or threw interceptions and didn't play well in the playoffs, that last moment is him holding up that Lombardi trophy. No matter how we get there, Tom Brady's last memory wants to be holding up a Lombardi trophy. Whether that's 7, whether that's 8, whether that's 9. Doesn't matter. If he's 43, if he's 67 years old. Doesn't matter. It's Tom Brady. He'll get there. His last memory wants to be a Super Bowl trophy, which will obviously solidify him as the best quarterback of all time until Patrick Mahomes somehow gets that. Just saying. His last memory as a Patriot should not be a pick 6. His last memory being with the Chicago Bears or the LA Chargers in 2 or 3 years should not be him losing to not make the playoffs or him losing the playoffs, not even getting to the Super Bowl. His best chance to win is still with New England, no matter what people say, because it is the most established and most reliable organization right now for Tom Brady to go to. That's it. I've been keeping that inside because I don't understand how many people say that he should leave and go somewhere else and he'll have a better chance of winning there. Bullshit. His best chance to win is in New England. Hands down. All right, that's going to do it for episode 111 of the Bubble Up Sports Podcast. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening, watching, all the things you do for me. I much appreciate that. So like I said earlier in the podcast, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go on anchor.fm/bubblenuts to support the podcast. Any support will do. Make sure to share and like all the posts I'm going to put on social medias. And we'll come back later on, talk about some XFL and some other things around football. So we'll see you next time on the Bubble Up Sports Podcast.